Welcome internet friends, it's once again time to worship at the altar of the YouTube algorithm and create the one type of video it loves more than anything else. That's right, this is a ranking stroke list video, specifically for the Studio Series 86 Deluxe class. We're going to look at them all, at least all of the ones I own, and put them in order of greatness. This is the first in a mini-series, by the way. We'll be doing the same for Voyager, Leader, Commander, and the now defunct Core class, so make sure you sub up and don't miss the next in the series. Deluxe class are the most affordable figures in the line, although admittedly not as affordable as they used to be, but there aren't as many Deluxe class figures in the Studio Series 86 as you might think. Hot Rod, for instance, is not Deluxe. He is in fact Voyager due to his additional accessories and features. So before we begin, let's introduce the contenders in this category in no particular order. They are Blur, Cup, RC, Nor, Perceptor, Jazz, Brawn, Cliffjumper, Bumblebee, and the two Constructicons Bone Crusher and Scavenger. Barring figures such as the battle-damaged Brawn and Prowl that came in a 2-pack, and I didn't pick that up because I prefer versions of characters that aren't moments from death, I think I'm complete on 86 Deluxe so far. Let me know in the comments if I've missed anyone. So without further ado, let's rank these 11 figures in order of greatness. Number 11, Bone Crusher. He's vital to the Constructicon team. Devastator would literally be armless without him, but as designs go in robot mode, he's distorted and rather stunty, and he feels a bit cheap. His vehicle mode is much more successful, but with so many great figures coming up, this is an easy last place for me. Number 10, Scavenger. I don't have anything against Decepticons or Constructicons for that matter, but my pick for next to last has to go to the other bad guy on the list. If we don't count Nor, who isn't really bad, he's just extremely dangerous en masse. As I mentioned in my Devastator vid, I think Bone Crusher and Scavenger are the weakest of the Constructicons. They both suffer from that same distorted robot mode. It's less obvious with Scavenger, but he suffers from a pretty big flub with the build quality in that the hinge for his cab in vehicle mode doesn't line up properly, requiring either a pair of pliers or some filing down. Unfortunate, but it means you're in second to last place, bud. Number 9, Blur. As the general quality has increased across the line, this mould of Blur is starting to feel increasingly dated to me. Having had two versions of this figure, due to the first having some factory defects, I can say that both have felt a little floppy and insubstantial in hand. His flared cuffs are a bit of an eyesore, and the translucent chest piece isn't a favourite of mine. I don't mind translucency where appropriate, but clear plastic over this white just seems pointless. Not a bad likeness of the character overall, but I think if they remade this guy now, we'd be struck by just how far the line has come. Number 8, Cup. People seem to hate the face sculpt on this one, but it's never really bothered me. I feel like these early renditions of the Autobot cars that were introduced with the movie are close enough, but we'd get much more accurate later. It's definitely Cup, no doubt about that, but his overall shape isn't quite there. Bit like his face, I suppose, close but not close enough. Both Cup and Blur in vehicle mode are great, however. I wish they'd done a version of this Blur with the opaque canopy like they did for Cup. Another slight niggle with the start of the line, a lack of consistency in terms of design aesthetics. Just pick a way to go and stick with that. Number 7, Cliffjumper. I may be showing a bit of prejudice here, but I always like figures to be new in a new line. Cliffjumper was a repaint of an earlier War for Cybertron figure, and although I really like the sleekness of his vehicle mode, I've got to admit, the elongated hood doesn't really represent how he looks in car mode in the cartoon. I don't mind parts forming when there's no other way to do it, but as we've seen with the new Bumblebee mould, it's perfectly possible to create a figure like this without parts forming. He has a ton of articulation for such a small guy, and I'm glad I found him. This was a buzzworthy Bumblebee release and quite rare in the UK, although it won't matter soon since there are rumours we'll be getting another Cliffjumper, again using that Bumblebee mould as a starting point. Number 6, Perceptor. Now we're really getting to the characters I find it hard to choose between. I need to remind you that I don't dislike any of these figures, and a list like this is about ranking greatness. I wouldn't be a Studio Series 86 collector if I disliked the line fundamentally, but such is the downside of making lists like this. This Perceptor's robot mode is so accurate to his on-screen self, I think my decision comes down to my fondness for the character, or lack thereof. Perceptor is just a bit boring. His telescope mode is great, but what can you really do with it? Study things? Not exactly the most dynamic of action features. We could perhaps ding this figure for the fact it was repacked with some of Blaster's cassettes later. This is that version. The early one had some subtle differences, but nothing that would change my ranking of it in a list like this. It's a great figure. There are just others I like more, such as number 5 Bumblebee. So much to like about this figure, the fact it represents his on-screen persona so well, but also nods heavily to the original G1 toy. His bug mode is much better than Cliff Jumper's, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do if Cliff is indeed remoulded, starting with this Bumblebee as a base. No parts forming, which lends the figure a more complete and successful feel. The only downside are those black windows, although I'm conflicted on that. The opaque blue they've been using, or transparent plastic, might take away from the overall striking look of the yellow and black. Hasbro needs very little excuse to reissue figures, so I bet we'll get a future release that tries something a little different with those. Hard to tell how successful it will be without seeing them side by side. Number 4, RC. I really wanted to put this mold nearer the top because I love her slenderness and likeness to the movie. It's just the massive backpack that is a letdown. There's probably no way to do RC without something like this or parts forming, so I've just trained my mind to ignore it. But in a list like this, it's all about those small annoyances. It comes down to details. Wonderful articulation elsewhere, the shade of pink is perfect, and the fact that a War for Cybertron version was available at the same time just served to highlight how good this particular mold is. It's better all round. Love RC and love this version of her. Number 3, Nor. A high ranking for an army builder, but this guy is just great. So simple to transform, yet in both robot and beast mode, he looks so accurate to the cartoon, it's unreal, feels like magic. I'd love to have a swarm of these guys on display, but I don't have the space or the disposable income, but I'd do it if I could, and so should you. Number 2, Brawn. This is the flip side of Cup for me, where a mold doesn't just accommodate the transformation and nods to the character, but encapsulates their personality somehow. This figure has that chunky, heavyset feel that typifies Brawn, where his inner power and strength seems to be bursting out of his frame, and the head sculpt absolutely knocks it out of the park. Seeing these classic characters rendered with such detail is the whole reason I'm collecting this line. And finally, number 1, Jazz. So not true that all the earlier releases were lacking something. This version of Jazz was great from the start, and just like Brawn encapsulates the character. His posture, the available articulation, even the width of his shoulders, his visored face, the mold has always spoken to me. It says this is the only version of Jazz you'll ever really want or need. He's been released 3 times now with slight variations, and in the end I've decided to settle on the Generation Selects version seen here, but I had the original until I swapped it out for this one, which I like a little better, and I would still have put that in first place. Ironic really, the first figure released in the line is also my top pick. So that's my ranking for Studio Series 86 Deluxe at time of recording. I really wish they'd released a version of Prowl separate to that Shuttle Attack 2-pack. I think that mold would have ranked high for me also, but I'm limiting myself to the characters I own. Let me know where that Prowl would come for you in a list like this, and don't forget to sub up for the Studio Series 86 Voyager class next, in which we finally decide how good that hot rod sculpt really is, and whether the included accessories justify him being bumped up to Voyager in the first place.